What is up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am Nathan Marz, joined by Brandon Eckel as usual, and we got some stuff to get to, Bucks NBA updates, and we're going to do some standings predictions at the All-Star break, our final standings predictions for what we think will be the standings at the end of the season, and then a little bit of Rodgers drama to get into. Obviously, that's been like a big topic in Wisconsin sports right now. Is just every day it seems like there's people speculating and new stuff coming out about Rodgers, and he posted on Instagram yesterday and caused a huge uproar and everything. But we'll get to that, and let's start out with the Bucks though. All-Star break, we are 36-24, fifth place in the East, 2.5 games out of first, which isn't like it's fine. 2.5 games out of first, you're good, but they're also 2.5 games out of the play-in because the East is so packed this year. It's so deep. There's 3 through 5 are all tied. 3 through 7 are all within 2.5 games. The Bucks, they're in fifth, but they're like tied for third in terms of like being games behind. How are you feeling like at the All-Star break? I'll say like on a 1 to 10 scale, 10 being like you feel really good, 0 being like I'm panic mode. Like, how are you feeling right now about the Bucks?
I'd probably say probably around a 7, I guess. I'm, still feeling pretty good. And just with all the, every team's kind of had the COVID stuff this year, obviously, and every team deals with injuries. So at some point you can't really use that as an excuse. But I feel like this year we've just found if Giannis is, hurting back to back, we got to rest him, stuff like that. So that's definitely cost us some games. But obviously when our big three's been out there, they've been phenomenal, have a really good record. I don't know what it is exactly, but
I was just going to get to that actually. But
yeah,
I'm probably like an 8.5, 8.5, I'd say. I was literally just going to say when Giannis, Chris, and Drew all play in the same game, they are 24-7.
Mm-hmm.
And when they're all playing on the court together at the same time, they have a plus 11.5 net rating. So basically outscoring opponents by 11.5 points per 100 possessions, which is like comparing it to other big threes and, other teams as like best lineups type thing. They're right up there among the best. I think the Heat is like slightly the Heat with Lowry, Bam, and Jimmy Butler are like slightly better. The Warriors are slightly worse. We're better than the Bulls. We're better than I can't remember the other ones. But like we're right up there among the best when our best 3 players are playing. And again, this is without Brook. We haven't had Pat lately. We haven't had a backup point guard lately without George Hill either.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just bad timing to have this whole, the Dante trade, which we'll get to and analyze that a little bit. But the Dante trade, and literally that same day, Pat goes down, and it's like, well, crap. Now we do have like another hole to fill, which they have. And again, we'll get to that stuff. But like this whole thing of just they've been healthy for like a half this year, not even. When Brook played, first game, they had everyone kind of there, and then Brook went out, hasn't been back since. And so it's like the best you can go off of is when just their big three's playing, because there's been other guys in and out. But really like the best we have is when the big three plays, and when the big three plays, they're winning like 78% of the games. So there's no way I'm panicking yet until, if they start losing a lot of games and looking bad when those 3 are all playing, then okay, I'll be a little bit worried. I'll be like, this is bad. Or if there's rumors that Brook isn't coming back, then I might be a little bit worried, because it's like I think we do need him to win a title, or at least I do think we need him. But it's like as long as Giannis, Chris, and Drew are out there, I'm going to give us a shot. But I think him being there helps our title chances a ton. But overall, like I'm okay with it. And Giannis is playing like Giannis. Chris has been. We'll get to Chris. Chris has been a little bit inconsistent lately. He had that really hot January. Even in December, he was pretty good. December and January combined, he was 41% from 3. And then in February, which has been like 8 games, he's 24% from 3. And back to kind of being what he was before, like in the first couple of months where he was inconsistent. His numbers were down. He wasn't great. That's kind of what he's been back to lately. Mm-hmm. Chris Middleton is good. Absolutely. He's still very good. I still love him, but the inconsistency is back a little bit. Are you at all worried about him? Are you like, because there's the people that they overreact to everything. But it's like the people that are, he has a few bad games, and it's all right. Like Chris Middleton is not that good, and blah blah blah, and like this is a problem. How like where are you on that train? I think I know where you're at. You're probably in the sensible.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like this is kind of the conversation every year nowadays.
It is like this is the thing. And okay, the saying is Chris Middleton is good.
Mm-hmm.
It is not Chris Middleton is elite or Chris Middleton is a superstar or Chris Middleton is great. He's a good player, and there's a reason he's not like a superstar. It's because he's going to have games and he's not that good. He's going to have stretches where he's not that good. If he was great all the time, he'd be like a top 10 player in the NBA. But it's just like that's not what he is. It's not what you're even necessarily asking him to be when he's a number 2 or 3 option. But go ahead, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, and I totally agree. I mean, the thing is too, especially at the start of the year, he was, I don't know, I did notice, like his points per game was down a little bit, and maybe it's assist number, stuff like that. But I mean, I think his points per game is up to 20 now. What is he averaging? 5-6 assists a game? So it's like he's really getting back into the flow, and it just he goes out there and he has games where he's not hitting shots or he's not really, the offense just isn't flowing. But at the end of the day, we know what he can do. We know he can step up in big moments. So I'm not at all worried about him. It's just one of those things that you have to expect from him. Like regular season, he could be a little shaky on and off, but also from a number 2, number 3 guy, I kind of expect that.
Yeah, and I feel like almost Chris is kind of a microcosm of like the Bucks as a whole right now, where like people, there's no reason not to trust him and not to trust like right now we have no reason not to trust the Bucks or him in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But there's moments in the regular season where you're going to be like, okay, it like had a bad game or that was a frustrating loss or whatever. But it's like, yeah, and you can call them out. You can call the Bucks out. You can call Chris out for bad games, for poor performances. Like I'm not going to sit there and be like, you can't criticize Chris Middleton at all because he won us a championship. No. But I'm saying there's no reason to jump ship. There's no reason to sit there and overreact. There's no reason to act like he's not good enough to win a title with again. Like there's no reason to think that. Get mad at him all you want for a game when he, that Philly game. If put that game on him, he pretty much lost that game. It was, what was he, 2 for 12 on threes?
Yeah, I was gonna say 2 for 11, something like that.
Yeah.
2 for 11, and, 12, yeah.
So it's like, okay, put that game on him, get mad at him all you want, but again, you have to keep it within reason. You have to say it's a bad game. Okay, he's had a rough stretch, but you don't necessarily have to sit there then and be like, oh, this sucks for us down the road, or this is gonna be a huge problem down the road. Like it's like you can acknowledge that, okay, you know what, he's a really good player and he'll be good in the playoffs. Probably we can trust him in the playoffs according to last season, but he's also in a rough stretch. Like both can be true. And so I think people always just kind of try to jump and like predict when a guy's like downfall is happening or when like, oh, we can't trust him anymore. And it's like, you don't need to necessarily do that. Again, he's given us no reason based on last year's playoffs. There's no reason why we shouldn't trust him in the playoffs and shouldn't trust him when our season's on the line in these huge games because he came through last year. But
yeah, not to mention that, like the second half, nice comeback from the Bucks. I think we took the lead even at one point, maybe in the fourth quarter, even if it was by a point or so. And, the fact that Middleton had that rough of a shooting night and we were right in it, and I know some people might be like, oh, well, yeah, well, they didn't even have Harden. It's like, I think that's another thing people don't understand is sometimes when teams don't have a certain guy, and this is a weird case because they just made a trade, it totally changes your offense. So
it takes time to adjust. Like,
right.
And again, we'll get to some of that stuff too when we talk about these teams and how they're going to finish. Someone said, do you think Serge will have a similar role to PJ and what he did in the playoffs last year? We will get to Serge in just a sec. I do. So we're going to talk about the signings and the trades and everything. Before we get to that, I do want to quickly talk about – I have to talk about Giannis. I have to talk about how great our guy is. Last 10 games, I couldn't even believe these numbers when I looked at it. And I kind of keep up. These are kind of always in the back of my head because I just look at them every day. But like I was kind of surprised when I looked at it all together. Giannis' the last 10 games, 62% from the field, 41% from three, 51% from mid-range, 74% from the line, and 6.1 assists to just 2.6 turnovers, which is like 2.5 to 1-ish turnover ratio, which is very, very good, especially for a power forward. But, I mean, the evolution of his game, just continuing to find ways to get better when, like, he went from, okay, he's the MVP. Okay, he's the back MVP and defensive player of the year. Like, how does he get better? Okay, he won a title and dropped 50. Okay, how does he get better than that? Now he's adding like more of a jump shot, and his 3-point shot looks better, and he's hitting his free throws at a higher rate, and his passing looks better. Like he just continuously adds stuff to his game. And again, I mean, do not take this guy for granted because this is just he keeps getting better. I don't know. I'll ask you, who's your MVP right now? And I don't think there's like a clear 100% right answer. Like I'm not. You don't have to say Giannis, but who's your MVP?
Man, I would just say based on where his team positioned, I'd have to go Embiid right now. But honestly, I think you can totally make a case for Embiid, Giannis, and even Jokic because Nuggets are without Michael Porter, Jamal Murray, PJ Dozier. So I mean, that's 3 role players right there. You
So
don't really lean Giannis. I mean, he's having a phenomenal year, so I'll never count him out. I guess I'm partially basing it off the fact of what I know or think people would vote because people don't like consistently voting for the same people as we know. But
yeah, I think if I had to bet who's going to win it, I would say Embiid because if it's close, they're going to give it to the guy who hasn't won it. However, my MVP right now, I think it's not. I think it's either Giannis or Jokic. It's close. Embiid to me, okay. Embiid's been great, and yes, they're third. They're like ahead of the Bucks, and they're ahead of where the Nuggets are in the West and everything. And Embiid's been fantastic, like really, really, really good. This isn't a knock on Embiid, but when you compare him to Giannis and Jokic, the overall numbers are better. Giannis versus Embiid. Giannis averages more points per 36, rebounds per 36, assists per 36, on better efficiency with better advanced stats, better defense. Like I don't necessarily know what the argument is other than okay, he's got his team. They're tied technically in the standings, but like he's got the tiebreaker. They're 2 spots ahead. But it's like I'm not giving it to him just based on that. And even in this stretch where like Embiid has gone on a tear since Christmas, Giannis's numbers since Christmas are like literally identical, and he's doing better. He's on better efficiency. I think Giannis is at like 65% true shooting, and Embiid's at like 61. Like again, these stretches for some players that people freak out about, and it's like all of a sudden everyone's talking about Joel Embiid's stretch, and they're like he's been on fire, he's been so good, and it's like okay, well Giannis is doing this, and I feel like it's like yes, he's in the MVP race, but everyone just kind of is like yeah, that's what Giannis does, and it's we just kind of take it a little bit more for granted because we've seen it for so long, but. To me, Jokic has the statistical advantage over Giannis because he has all the advanced stats, and Giannis has him in like scoring and defense, which are 2 big areas, which I think makes it close. If you want to say Jokic, fine. I'm not going to argue with that. For me, it's either Giannis. I don't even know if I would say definitively I think it's Giannis because I think Giannis is the best player in the world. I don't know if he's technically the MVP. And as you said, Jokic has the Nuggets right there in the middle of the playoffs without Michael Porter, without Jamal Murray. The Giannis has had a better supporting cast for sure than I think those 2 guys, which I guess could be their argument over him. But it's like, I don't know, just I'm looking at the statistics and looking at everything all together. It's like, to me, it's either Giannis or Jokic. But
how much do you think the voters look at those like deep analytic stuff?
I mean, I hope they do because I really think like, again, I'm like, look at all of them. I'm not saying there's only like, oh, look at these 3. Like, I don't care. Look at all the stats. But it's like, that's kind of what you have to go off of. I like some people just, I feel like go too much on like the narrative or just based on feel. And it's like, well, like what they're seeing on, in the media and just like, it's like, if that's the case, the media is not always going to like, again, the media will pump up Embiid means playing really well because it's like, this is the best stretch of his career. Whereas like Giannis is doing it and it's kind of normal. So it's just like, you kind of have to actually look at the numbers and look at, okay, how is each guy doing and how are they actually playing? And then judge it based on that, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the thing with Embiid too is just how I don't know. He really seemed like he's taken a better step, just more efficient, more dominant.
Again, he's sorry to butt in really quick, but he's been fantastic. He's been the best year of his career. Top, like literally these 3, I think are the clear top 3.
Yeah.
DeRozan's like 4th, but like I don't think he's at the level of these 3. It's not a knock on Embiid. I'm just saying when you compare him to these other 2, I think he's just not quite there statistically.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, like I love Jokic. I think he's put up 8 assists a game. Like, his vision is insane. Giannis's passing has been insane,
Yeah, I
really,
mean,
like, for
Giannis
the
got like
past
six
2, 3
six
months.
something. Yeah.
And I think Jokic is shooting almost 40% from 3, if I'm,
Mhm.
not mistaken. But, yeah, it's really, to me, I think it's a lot tighter than people make it, though. Like, when I say probably Embiid first, I think it's really close because, like, the betting favorite, Embiid's, what, plus 150 something, and Giannis is like 4 or 500. Like, I think that's pretty, stupid to have those lines because of, like
Yeah.
you said, number wise, Giannis and Jokic have both been better, but we'll see.
Again, though, I guess that makes sense because it's like the betting lines are about who's actually going to win, and it's like if I was betting who's going to win, I would say Embiid because they're going to give it to him if it's close. Whereas it's not asking you like the line isn't who's actually going to deserve it, but
Yeah.
it's more just who's going to win it. So I can understand it a bit. Real quick before we move on to NBA standings predictions, let's talk about the moves the Bucks made. Um, Traded Dante at the
Mhm.
deadline. Dante DiVincenzo, Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye for Serge Ibaka, essentially. Um, I was very happy with it. I've been on the train of like wanting to trade Dante for a while. I really like Dante. I was super thrilled when we drafted him. I've always liked him. I just think it was like it's time to move on. He's inconsistent offensively. He doesn't really have like no part of his game is consistent offensively.
Yeah.
And I like his defense. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing that's like his defense is so good you have to keep him around. It just was a packed position with him, Pat, and Grayson all there at the same time. And I don't think you're not getting rid of Pat or Grayson, so it's like Dante was kind of the one to get rid of. But yeah, his passing isn't consistent, his scoring isn't consistent, his shooting isn't consistent, his ball handling isn't consistent, his finishing isn't consistent. Like it was just a point where I'm like, like he doesn't need to be around anymore. And then you throw in Rodney Hood and Samuel, who just were duds for us to get, and all due respect to them, but like they didn't do much for Serge Ibaka, who is a playable center in the playoffs with good defense, solid rim protection, rebounding. Can shoot it a little bit for a big man. So I was thrilled with it. I think you kind of again you took pieces that you didn't really need and that were just like there and turn it into something that's actually useful in the playoffs, which is exactly what you need. Hopefully Brooke comes back, but like this just has that safety blanket of if he doesn't, there's an option, and even if he does, you have that extra depth. So I'm sure you were happy with it too. I'm guessing, but like, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, and I was definitely in the same boat as you. Like, I've really liked Dante. He's been, they've kind of asked him to do different things over the years because I think it was like rookie year they kind of wanted him to shoot. Sophomore year turned into more of like a playmaker. Like, oh, could he be a backup point guard? Then it was back to just shooting before he got hurt. And now just like if you watch the games, he was just bad, And
Yeah.
I really like his defensive potential and stuff, but behind Grayson and Pat, who obviously, well, Pat's not locked up now, but they got Grayson for I think 2 more years, and Pat just seems like a guy that, they
Yeah,
definitely
you're
want
not
to
getting
keep
rid of
around.
Pat with the way he played.
No, no, and they both established the role. They're both solid defenders. Grayson's the best shooter, or well, no, probably Pat's probably the best shooter, but Grayson's the best. I feel like overall scorer. He can get to the rim a little better, um, and so just kind of not a good fit for Dante. I really like getting Surge. Hopefully, this move just is a depth thing, and it doesn't mean that there's stuff we don't know about Brook where he could be out longer, because it never hurts to have a big guy like Surge when you need it, because otherwise all we have is Bobby, who, has been great for us, but we don't have much for depth.
Yeah. And I mean, according to everything they've said, it sounds like they've given us no reason to think Brooke won't be back, but we'll see with that. So then Pat gets hurt, as we mentioned, that same day that we trade Dante. That was the Suns game. And then you're left with that hole to fill at guard, because again, George Hill had been out. So it's like, who is our backup point guard? Wendell Wigginton has been playing decent at least, but they needed definitely some people to bring in. They bring in DeAndre Bembry, who I like. I think it's a good move. I think he can play both sides a little bit. He's shooting it well this year, 41% from three. But I mean, he's not really that good of a shooter because you look at his last 3 years, he'd never been above 29%. He was like in the 23, 26, 28. So it's like I'm not gonna act like he's like some great 3-point shooter just because he's having one good half season.
Yeah.
But I'm happy with that. He was one of the guys that I was like, I'll take him for sure. And then today they got Javon Carter, who to me it's whatever. Good defender. I'm excited about his defense. Him and Drew together could be a good defensive combo to have at guard. But he also is on his 4th team in 4 years now, which tells you that it can't be that good. Like if he was just that good of a defender and that great of a backup point guard, teams wouldn't be getting rid of him.
Right.
And that's literally waived him just yesterday or something. And so he's not a very good offensive player. I know Nets fans didn't like him. So I haven't watched a ton of him, so I'm not really sure entirely what to think, but I don't hate it just because I know he's good at defense, watching him at West Virginia and stuff. But what have you thought about those signings?
Yeah, I like Bembry just for a guy that, obviously now we do have an injury with Pat, so I think that could potentially help fill the role because he's kind of he's kind of more of a small forward, but fill that 2/3 role. And yeah, Carter, I don't look much into it. I don't know if he'll even really play. Maybe if they really need him. Like you said, he's not very good offensively. He's undersized, but at least he has some defensive intensity. So maybe if, they need some minutes from somebody, they can bring him in.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. NBA standings predictions time. We're going to do our what we predict will be the final playoff seedings in the East and the West, the top 10. We will start in the West because I feel like the East is more packed, so it's a little bit, can go many ways. The West is a little bit more spread out. I feel like there's a game or game and a half, 2 games between these teams. So to start the West, the Suns number 1. They're 6.5 games ahead of the Warriors. So do you have the Suns 1?
Yep, gonna be very hard to catch them.
Yeah, they're blazing through the regular season right now. Definitely a team that they're one of the teams that I'm they could beat the Bucks for sure. Because people always ask me what teams do you think could beat the Bucks? Who do you think we could lose to? Suns are absolutely one of them. They're really good, but knowing that we did beat them last year, it gives me confidence that we can do it again. So, but yeah, they're a fantastic team. Second, I have Golden State. What do you have?
Golden State as well. They got another good.
They're getting, when they haven't had Clay and Draymond playing together yet, so it's you get Curry, Wiggins, Clay, Draymond all together. All right, they're going to be a serious contender. Another team that I think could beat the Bucks. Third, I have the Grizzlies there. So do you have Grizzlies?
I do.
Okay, yeah, because it's if the Jazz were closer, I'd be more I think the Jazz could jump them. But they're 4 games ahead of the Jazz, and so these teams are just a little bit more spread out. I don't think the Grizzlies are catching the Warriors, and I don't think the Jazz are catching the Grizzlies. So I'm just yeah, they're going to stay third. But they've been fun. I'm a big Grizzlies guy.
Yeah, no, they're a lot of fun. Young team. Desmond Bane, who I know is your guy going into the draft, has been really good this year. I was really surprised just because I haven't looked at the standings in a while to see I didn't know there's such a big separation with all 3 of those teams from each other.
Yeah. Fourth, I then have the Jazz, who are a game and a half ahead of 5th, and as I said, 4 games out of 3rd. I think they stay in that 4th spot. They're good as usual, but again, just not a team that I necessarily trust in the playoffs because they don't have that star. They're a good team. I never am gonna pick them to make to the finals or anything.
Yeah, I got them there as well, and I kind of questioned because I think it was just going into the All-Star break. They were talking about now how Mitchell and Gobert aren't really getting along again, and I just never really liked that kind of stuff. I think Ingles going out for the year hurt them, just as a good role player on both sides of the ball. So we'll see.
5th in the West, I have Denver. I think Denver – I was looking at the schedules a little bit. Denver's upcoming schedule, to me, is a lot easier than the Mavs, who are ahead of them currently by a game and a half. And so I do think they'll – I think they can get up to the 5th spot with how well Jokic is playing. I'm going Nuggets 5th.
Yeah, I got Denver 5th as well. I love Luka, but their shooters they have around him are just so inconsistent.
Yeah.
And just
They need to put a team around that guy. I
general.
want to see him with a good team around him.
Right. They just Tim Hardaway and Bullock's been okay, and then Finney Smith. They can't consistently knock down shots, and it's just kind of is hard to watch sometimes because he'll create all these open looks. But
And then 6th, I have them. Do you have Mavs 6th then?
yep.
Okay, so we have Nuggets 5th, Mavs 6th. 7th, I have the Timberwolves, who are another one of my like personal favorite teams that I like to watch. I like to root for. Anthony Edwards, gotta love that guy. Do you have T-Wolves 7th?
I do. So we got the same first 7 so far. Do you have an Excel sheet up that you want to show, or are we just going through it?
I'm just going through it.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
Just want to make sure.
Yes, we have.
Yeah, I got T-Wolves 7.
And as I said, these are. I mean, the Timberwolves like are 2.5 out of 6th, and 2 games ahead of 8th, which again is crazy because like those are that's they're 2.5 basic 2 to 2.5 games out of being 1 spot away. The Bucks are like 2.5 games from jumping from 5th to 1st, and they're 2.5 games from jumping from 5th to like 7th or 8th, whatever it is. So it's like there's just the disparity in these is like jumping down 1 spot is like jumping down 5 spots in the East. But 8th, I have the Lakers. I just think
Lakers as well.
I think the Lakers will turn it on a little bit. I think LeBron get in his mode of like, okay, it's. I mean, he's been so good, but it's like he'll just kind of will them to some victories again here, and I think they'll jump the Clippers. That'll be close between who finishes, but I still think the Lakers are kind of locked in for the play-in. But I think LeBron will he'll make sure they're not out of the 10th and missing the playoffs or anything, because right now they're in 9th.
9? Yeah.
And they're 4.5 away from being out of the playoffs. So they're pretty comfortably in the playoffs, but like I think LeBron will turn on a bit, make sure they're in, and get them up to 8th. And then I have the Clippers 9th.
Yep, I got Lakers 8 as well, Clippers 9.
And then who's your 10?
10, I went with the Blazers, who are currently there.
All right, we got the same. Hey, we got the same top 10. This was not planned ahead of time.
Never happened either.
Yeah. So to recap: Suns number 1, Warriors number 2, Grizzlies 3, Jazz 4, 5 Nuggets, Mavs 6, Timberwolves 7, Lakers 8, Clippers 9, Blazers 10. And again, it's a little bit harder to have more disparity because it's a little more spread out than the East.
Yeah.
I think the East we might have some disparity here. So let's go to the East. Number 1. Like again, this could go like 5 different ways. But number 1, who's your number 1? I'll let you go first.
I was going back and forth here, but I had to stick with the Heat.
I went with the Heat as well.
Okay. Butler's been playing really good for them this year.
Yeah.
When he's been healthy. That's my thing, is they've been really unhealthy, but now I think they got Bam back. Hero's been really good. Lowry's another guy who's I think was out for a little while. So
yeah,
I think if they stay healthy the rest of the year, they'll maintain that number 1 seed.
Yeah, that's the thing is they've been right up there the whole year. Like I think they were first for a while. I think they maybe dropped to second or third for a brief moment, but like they haven't been healthy and they've kind of just consistently been winning games. So I'm going to give them the top spot because of that. The fact that they've been really good even when they haven't been healthy. If they do get healthy, I think they can, do even more damage and stay number 1. So yeah, Heat number 1. Who then is your number 2?
Don't think you're going to agree with me here, but I went with Philly at number 2.
Okay. I mean, I don't hate it. The Harden trade definitely it raises their ceiling for sure, but it lowers their floor.
Yeah.
I think like
a make or break trade.
Yeah. And I mean, I like it for both teams. You got both teams kind of got rid of someone who basically wanted out and they were not going to get much out of that player. And they turned it into something nice. The Brooklyn had James Harden, who didn't really want to play for them anymore and was, sitting out and whatever, and flipped him and got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry. What else did they get? Two firsts and who else did they get?
God, I can't think of the other player they got from.
I
can't think right now either.
But it's like, okay, you flip that for that, and then the Sixers then turned Ben Simmons, who wasn't playing, and a little bit more into James Harden. So it's like you got a huge piece and you didn't have to go up a ton. So I liked it for both teams. I think both teams got better. But again, the Sixers floor I think is lower just because Harden, any team he goes to, like it could blow up a little bit. It could get bad.
It was Drummond that went to.
I was gonna say, was it Drummond? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sound stupid. Okay, Drummond. But this number 2 for me, I'm going with the Bulls. And I don't love the Bulls, but I think they're another team that like they haven't been that healthy and they're still kind of always up there. So I'll give them the nod here. And just the fact that, okay, they're starting, they have 2.5 games on the Sixers as is. So for the Sixers to pass them, it would take, them losing games and the Sixers winning, and it would take a little bit to pass them. If they were a game ahead of them or a half game ahead of them, like I'd be more confident to say that Philly could pass them or someone else could pass them, the Bucks or something. But it's like they have 2.5 games on us, the Cavs, and the Sixers. So I think they're good enough to stay there. But I don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're a legit contender because, I mean, they're really good. But it's like they're not a team that necessarily scares me in the playoffs. They're not a team that I think of as like a serious finals team because they haven't been good against the best teams and because they just don't have that star to like match other team stars. DeRozan's playing fantastic.
Yeah.
In a playoff series, can he match Giannis? Can he match KD, Embiid? I don't think so, but maybe he'll prove me wrong. But it's just like I don't necessarily think he can. But third, I have the Bucks third.
I have the Bucks third as well, which I can talk after you or whatever.
Yeah, I'll just briefly say I think right now they're basically tied for third, in terms of, again, games behind us, Sixers, Cavs, all 2.5 games behind. And I think our schedule coming up is difficult. I'm going to quickly bring it up.
Yeah, I think we got 3 more home games and we go on the road. We got the Nets, obviously, this weekend.
So Nets, Hornets, Heat, Bulls, Suns.
Yeah.
Which is a very tough 5-game stretch. Then you have Thunder, Hawks, which isn't too bad. Then you go Warriors, Jazz, which is tough again. Then there's another stretch shortly after that. Then there's a game against Kings. Then it's T-Wolves, Bulls, Wizards, easy. Grizzlies, Sixers, Nets, Clippers, Mavs, Bulls, Celtics, Pistons, Cavs. Like
a lot of playoff teams.
A lot of playoff teams in there. I think there's only like 2 or 3 that are. But
yeah.
I do think, again, with how good they've been when the big 3 plays, I still trust them. Like, I still think they're going to be right there at the top, and I think they'll do what they need to do. Giannis will turn it on when he needs to make sure they're like a top 4 to 5, seed. I think he'll get them up a little bit. So I think they move up to third, and once we get Pat back, and if you get Pat and Serge and our guard depth now a little bit, once that gets shored up, I think they definitely have what it takes to get to the top 3 and kind of just do what they need to do to, like, okay, you got a good seed, you're fine. You don't need to get number 1, you don't need to whatever, but you got a good enough seed that you feel confident going into the playoffs. So I'm thinking Bucks third, and then I have the Sixers fourth, which you had second. Yeah. But again, I'm not. This isn't going to be a large disparity in terms of, like, they're all going to be close. I think it'll take some time for Embiid and Harden to get adjusted. I think they might struggle a little bit for a little bit. That might push them down just a tad.
Yeah.
The Bucks just have, again, the Bucks. I feel like the Bucks just have that continuity of, like, you kind of just know what you're getting out of them all the time, which I guess just gives me the confidence to say, like, the Bucks will be fine and these other teams might lose some games. So I'm dropping the Sixers a spot from where they currently are, from third to fourth. Who is your fourth?
I got the Bulls 4, so I got them flipped at 2 with you. And I just kind of did it based on, I like DeRozan a lot. He had, what was that, 10-game stretch or whatever right before the All-Star break, where it was like arguably one of the best stretches ever. I mean, he was shooting
Like,
over 50%.
He had like 7 straight games with 35 or more on 50% shooting.
Yeah.
Which is like unheard
Insane.
of.
Yeah. So, and not to say he can't keep that up, but I don't think he will as consistent as he did. And just because there's not that, much room for air there, that's where I think that, we, the Bucks, whatever, could jump them. We got a game or maybe 2. I think, well, we got 1 for sure, as you said. I don't know if there's 2, but against them, which would be a big game.
2 against them.
2 against them. So, I mean, there's, potential 2 to make up right there. And I just, like you said, I think Giannis and them are going to realize, hey, we got to get that. I think the top 4 seed really, to solidify home court advantage for at least the first round. So,
yep. And then 5th, I have Cleveland. And right now they're 4th, so I just have them dropping a spot. Love Cleveland. They're one of the East teams that are my favorite. Like if I don't think they're gonna make the finals. Like if the Bucks were to lose to a team in the playoffs, I'd be completely fine losing to the Cavs because I like them.
Mm-hmm.
Garland's been really good. Jared Allen, fantastic. Just a fun team. I really like the Cavs.
Yeah, I have them 5 as well. And like you said, they're a fun young team.
They're a team that scares me a little bit if we had to play them first round because it's I don't know. They're a young team. They're just a little bit physical. They got Jared Allen who can hang with Giannis. They got the guys to hang with Giannis a little bit. Him and Mobley.
Mm-hmm. Kevin Love's been pretty insane for them shooting wise.
Yeah, they scare me a little bit, but not enough to we need to avoid them at all costs, but a little bit. Number 6, I have. Who's your number 6? I want to hear yours first.
Number 6, I got Boston, who really struggled to start the year, but definitely found the groove now.
Yeah, they've picked it up a lot. I've been impressed with them lately. They had that game where they absolutely killed the
40 or 50, something like that.
Yeah, was it on the road?
I don't know for sure, but I think honestly it was 130 to 80.
I want to say it was. I'm going to look up real quick. I wanted to look up their net rating. I was looking at this the other day. Their net rating in the month of February, I feel was number 1 in the league. I feel like they've been past 3 weeks. Let's look up their net rating past 3 weeks. Number 1 in the league. Boston Celtics 19.1. So yeah, they've been basically playing the best team in the league this month for the past few weeks. So I don't hate that at all. I kind of felt bad that I have the Nets 6th.
Okay.
And right now they are 8th. And they're 2.5 games out of 6. I really like the trade they made. I think KD's gonna come back soon. They got Simmons now. I like that team, and I think they're going to kind of go on a little bit of a. They obviously had this super rough stretch where they lost however many games in a row. I think they'll come back when KD gets back and they're healthy and Ben Simmons is there. I think they're going to win a lot of games, and I feel bad moving Boston now because I like Boston, but it's just I don't know. I think it's more of the Nets just winning a lot of games to catch them rather than the Celtics losing a lot of games to fall.
Yeah,
I don't know. And I do have the Celtics 7, but I have the Nets 6. So
well, I got the Nets right at 7, and like you said, I really like the trade too. It's, Seth Curry, really underrated addition. Nets do scare me.
They got Seth, they got Joe Harris, they got Patty Mills around, and then you have KD and Ben Simmons. KD is a fantastic scorer. Ben Simmons is a fantastic creator. So it's that's a pretty scary team.
Not to mention Kyrie when he is able to
play,
which, is the only thing that holds me back a little bit. But as you said, I think it's going to be close because I don't think it's going to be a matter of, a team playing bad. I just think who ends up winning more games. I think the Celtics now, and you could say this in a lot of situations, but a lot of people have been talking about, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, not work and stuff like that. And it really feels like they're trying to prove people wrong right now. So I think
They're just
about.
Yeah, they're just weird because they're so like ISO heavy. Like they're
Yes.
2 player. It's just like one of them just kind of gets the ball and like shoots a mid range. Like there's so many contested mid ranges that they shoot. Like they're just different that way. Where they have 2 guys that kind of play very similarly and just like
Bad shots.
bad shots, but like they're good at making them. So it's like
They are. Yeah,
But
it's okay.
like I always say, I'm like Middleton and Tatum and Brown and like they're all very similar, but like Tatum and Brown are just so much flashier. Like they
Yeah.
make it look better, but it's like I don't know. In terms of actual effectiveness, like Chris is equal, if not better. But I don't know. They're just a weird team. 8th, I have Toronto, who I mean Pascal Siakam's been playing fantastic lately.
Yeah.
Van Vliet has been very good all season. And so I'm kind of surprised they're where they are. Like I didn't expect them. Not that they're super high up, but I expected them to be outside the playoffs. And then I was kind of looking at the standings. I was like, they're comfortably in the playoffs. They're 5.5 games out of 11. So they should be. They're going to be a playoff team. It looks like, unless they really fall apart or if someone else goes berserk. But I do have them finishing 8th, and right now they are 7th. So I just have them falling 1 spot. But I think which is more because I have the Nets jumping. Who's your 8?
I got them 8 as well. I like them a lot. Like, well, in certain aspects, they're weird because they'll play this. Nick Nurse plays their starters a lot, kind of because he has to, because they somewhat have a short rotation. But they scare me because they got, Gary Trent, who I think leads the league in steals, Scotty Barnes.
Scotty Barnes. I love Scotty Barnes.
OG Anunoby. So it's like, and obviously Siakam. They just have guys that can dang near guard, 2 through 5.
They always have this. Like ever since that when they got Kawhi, it's like they've always had a team that can they just have all these solid defenders.
Long wings. Yeah.
Kind of like Miami too. Miami's been that way. Like the 2 teams that just it makes it tough on Giannis because you can put up the wall and be effective doing it because you just have a lot of good individual defenders and like long, athletic, whatever. But they always frustrate me. So I do agree. Like just any team that can make things difficult on Giannis, I'll be a little bit worried about.
Yeah.
Number 9, I have the Hornets. Is that who you have?
I actually have the Hawks, even though I love the Hornets. I just think the Hawks are going to figure it out a little bit after the All-Star break, enough to get there. And it's kind of close around that, like 9, 10, 11, I think. Enough where teams could kind of make up ground. But I think it's pretty solidified who's going to be in. But.
Yeah, Hawks and Hornets are currently tied 9 and 10. And then the Wizards are a game out from there. I don't like the Wizards very much. And then after that, there's like a drop off, and there's the Knicks, Pacers, Pistons, Magic. So I think this definitely will be. To me, Hornets and Hawks will be these 2 teams, whatever the order is. I have Hornets 9, Hawks 10. Hornets, LaMelo's been good. Bridges, Terry Rozier has been really good. I have him on my fantasy team, so I'm happy with that. And so I have them 9, and then the Hawks 10. The Hawks they've been. I think they picked up a little bit, but they've been disappointing. Like compared to where they were last year. I don't know. Trae Young's been fantastic, but I just don't know how good he makes your team, because defensively not very good. He takes a lot of shots, but his assist numbers are up there too. So it's like, I don't know. He just needs the ball in his hands so much, but
yeah,
he's fantastic. I think he's probably like a top 5 to 6 MVP candidate. Like after DeRozan, I might put him. But I mean, you're never going to have any chance to win it when you're 10th, but it's like, he's just been really, really good in terms of the numbers and everything that he puts up and his scoring, but they've been disappointing.
Yeah, they have. And I mean, I had the Knicks pretty low in our preseason prediction, but I did not expect them to be as bad as they have this year. So they've got to be the most disappointing team, probably.
Yeah. I think I was going to say I think they probably are the most disappointing team. Knicks have been disappointing too. I was just thinking about them because I just brought them up. But they started out pretty well, and they've been disappointing since. Pacers disappointing. Yeah, Lakers obviously. I mean, the Lakers might be the
I guess considering you have LeBron.
But yeah, so our East standings, you name yours off after mine, but my East standings are Heat number 1, Bulls number 2, Bucks 3, Sixers 4, Cavs 5, Nets 6, Celtics 7, Raptors 8, Hornets 9, Hawks 10.
I got Heat 1, Philly 2, Bucks 3, Bulls 4, Celtics 5, Cavs 6, Nets 7, Raptors 8, and then Hawks, Hornets 9, 10.
All right. Last thing before we get out of here, Aaron Rodgers. So Mr. Rodgers has posted on Instagram this, gratitude, whatever. I went on Twitter and everyone's talking about it. I was like, what is going on? And I looked up on Instagram and saw it. And I've had the reaction for a while now with Rodgers of just like, I love Aaron Rodgers. You've known this for a long time. I'm like the biggest Rodgers defender.
Yeah.
I freaking love that guy. Like, I don't even know if people realize that, like, for me, it's like Giannis and Rodgers are like close, honestly. I mean, Giannis is like definitely number 1 in terms of my favorite athletes, but like Rodgers is right there. Like I love Aaron Rodgers. I want him to stay very badly, and I would be very upset if he's not staying with us. However, I've reached the point with, how long it's been that we've had him and the things that have happened the past few years, how they've finished. I'm just at the point where I'm like, whatever happens, happens. I'm not going to, I'll be upset if he leaves, but I'm not going to sit here and stress about it nonstop. I'm not going to sit here and freak out and check in my phone all the time for Rodgers news and breaking down all of his posts and everything. Like, I was like, whatever. Like, I hope they don't trade him. I'm in the boat of like I don't want to willingly give up Aaron Rodgers because I do believe he's in the mode of stay and run it back or retire.
I agree.
And if that's the case, I don't want them to trade him. And like, yes, you're getting something for him and that's good, but it's like, I don't want to willingly give up Aaron Rodgers if he's not completely on board with going. Like, I'd rather just, part of me is like, if he just retires, I'm like, okay, fine. Honestly, like, whatever. I hate the idea of willingly giving up a player like that, but I don't know. Rodgers just, I really hope he's there. And I think if I'm, like, what is your prediction of what actually happens?
I would just have to say, I think he's going to play out this last year. I think they obviously franchise tag Devontae, and honestly, if he doesn't get it done, this next year, then I really think he'd hang it up. I don't think he cares to go elsewhere as much as people think. Yeah. I think he just, thinks about it as a possibility, which 99% of players are, always are going to consider going to another organization. But I hope to have him there. But obviously, when we continue to come up short, especially this year, it's like at some point, it's like, is it worth all the extra stuff and all the drama that we go through? And yes, during the regular season it is, because he was amazing, obviously winning MVP again, but I would have to say he stays, plays next year, play out his contract, and I think next year will really be when he evaluates if he's retiring or not.
Yeah, I do think he'll end up staying, and as I said, I think he's either staying or retiring. And I'm like I said, I'm not going to stress about it, but I'm also not one of those people that's like, oh, he can go if he wants. Like, I'm like, this dude's the back-to-back MVP, arguably the best quarterback in the league still. He's done so much for us. Like, even though he had, no Super Bowls in the last 10 years, that dude has kept us relevant for a long time. And, okay, like these past couple of years, probably, could have showed up more in the playoffs. But before that, it was like he was the one that was showing up. Nobody else was. No defense wasn't. Special teams wasn't. Whatever. And people forget that. And it's just like I feel like people just get so like, I hate to use the word ungrateful, but like that's kind of how it feels. Is they just kind of like take him for granted, and then they're like, cool, he had an MVP season. Like he didn't get it done in the playoffs. It's like, do you know how rare it is to have an MVP season and even be put in that position where like you have an MVP quarterback? Like, and it's just to be like, I don't care if he leaves, just to me is so like ridiculous. Like I do care if he leaves. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and stress about it nonstop. But I very much want him back. And if he's back, you're just guaranteed to be another title contender and hope you get it done. But again, winning Super Bowls is hard. Like I said when Mahomes lost, I was like, Mahomes has now been, even in the playoffs, and again, Rodgers has been statistically a very good playoff quarterback and still only has the one Super Bowl. Mahomes, since 2018, has been like statistically the best quarterback in the playoffs and has won Super Bowl in 4 tries. And so it's like, this is not an easy thing to do. Like you can have the best quarterback in the playoffs and still lose and win, one Super Bowl in many tries. So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on it. I'm guessing he'll stay. I'm hoping he'll stay. And yeah, anything else to add?
No, I mean, I'm with you. I think he's going to stay, and I obviously hope he stays. Like you say, I think people just get too caught up in, I'm done with it, whatever. And, at some point I can agree understand people just get fed up. But you have to realize you're talking about, multi-time MVP guy who always, as you said, puts you in Super Bowl contention. Guys don't come around often like that. Yeah. And we're going to be facing the hard reality within the next few years when he is gone, most likely. So,
yeah. All right. That wraps it up. Next, we'll talk to you guys soon again. Have another podcast out soon. Bucks will start up again. We have to make it through this whole week with no Bucks. Marquette doesn't play either. I know you got the Badgers. They play tomorrow.
I think
someone was telling me they play tomorrow, I think. But I have to sit here for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. No Bucks, no Marquette. So we'll see if I survive. But we'll have more for you guys soon. And we're going to do college basketball stuff coming up too, because we got conference tournaments coming up.
Yeah.
Best time of the year with college basketball, March Madness, and everything. And again, the NBA is picking up. So we'll have stuff out for you guys soon. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you guys next time. Peace out.